What the governor's done is pretty remarkable so far. I mean, this is what he's...
Right. It does not help with COVID, and it could be dangerous.
Okay.
Talk about something matters. I'm happy to ask something matters.
Joe Biden visited Ron DeSantis in Florida. Fauci was on Colbert because we've all missed him. The OPEC oil problem is going to be a big problem. Iran was chanting some interesting things in their parliament. What else is there? Oh, and FBI crime statistics are out, and not good. A lot of murder. Way too much murder. All that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually their name, Jobob.
Live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in on today. It is October 6th, the year of our Lord 2022. A lot happened yesterday. Did you catch the end of the show yesterday when I predicted somebody in the Biden administration was going to say something ridiculous and we were going to bring it to you today? Not really that big or risky of a prediction because it seems to happen every single day. This time from the man himself, Mr. President Joe Biden, as he visited Florida to survey the damage with one Ron DeSantis. Now, both of these guys, whether or not you agree or disagree with their politics, are pros. Biden got out of the car, shook Ron DeSantis' hand, and then for the most part, spoke very highly of his efforts in Florida. Obviously, there's political implications behind that, but at the same time, the role of the people that we put into office is to govern. And what they do when they're governing is make sure that more bad things don't happen in the case of a natural disaster. But I didn't want to watch, this particular clip. Well, there's several clips here that I thought were interesting. This one is kind of long. This doesn't really have any necessarily back and forth with Joe Biden and Ron DeSantis, but it does have, well, okay. Let me just tease, I guess, the big clip that I think everybody has either heard about or seen that's coming. And no, I did not censor the President of the United States. Thank you very much. But before that, Joe Biden left the podium and then said some good things about Ron DeSantis, and then went on this weird, rambly, tangential, looking for somebody around, wandering aimlessly thing. And I'm going to play you the entire thing. So beware of that. And then, yes, we do have the clip, if you're wondering. Check this out. Also, if you haven't already, would appreciate it if you click the little like button, the little share button too, especially if you're watching on Facebook. Also, give us a comment. Let us know what you think about the president visiting Florida and surveying the damage done by Hurricane Ian with Ron DeSantis. I don't know if you know, but these guys are bitter rivals. Ron DeSantis is definitely running for president in 2024, and Joe Biden does not want him to win. So, anyways, watch this clip, and we'll discuss on the other side. Check it out.
Thank you.
What do state and local and federal officials need to do differently to prevent future loss of life?
What the governor's done is pretty remarkable so far. I mean, this is what he's done. In terms of, first of all, the biggest thing the governor's done and some of the others have done, they've recognized this thing called global warming. The world is changing. It's changing. And we have to change the way with the zoning codes. For example, the woman who heads up all this area for me, Liz showed me a picture of the telephone poles we put up. Liz, where were they? Liz. Anyway, Liz showed me a picture of the telephone poles we put up in Florida. I'm not sure where were that telephone pole you were showing me?
Oh, it was right here, Fort Myers Beach.
For Fort Myers Beach. Instead of doing cement poles or wooden poles, we put up steel poles. And guess what? They all were sustained. They all survived. The wires survived, the poles survived. It cost more money to put them up, but they survived. We also know we put a lot of this on, like in California.
Yikes. So they asked what can be done to prevent further loss of life. Joe Biden congratulates Ron DeSantis, which is fine. I appreciate him doing that. But then starts talking about global warming. Do we want to go down that rabbit hole? Sure, let's do that. Let's go ahead and pretend that this whole global warming thing caused the hurricane. Which it did not, by the way. Just FYI, if you've seen on any of the media outlets that you've been watching the last couple of weeks, CNN, MSNBC, actually Don Lemon's show is really, really kind of fun with this. I didn't bring a clip of it because we've smacked him around enough, and I don't want people to get tired of smacking around Don Lemon. But at the same time, Don Lemon had a meteorologist on that says, how did global warming impact this particular hurricane? The meteorologist was like, it didn't? Like, what are you talking about? There's no way to define how a bigger picture thing affected a storm with a lot of variables. Don Lemon was not happy with that answer, and neither was any of the media. So the point here is there's no way to be able to pinpoint how global warming affects any of this. We have no idea, and I'm not a let's trash the planet person at all. I like the environment. I think we should protect it as humans. I think it's our duty to do that. But at the same time, let's be realistic about things and let's not exacerbate a quote unquote problem that we don't really know that we're doing or we have or anything like that. That doesn't make you a climate change denier. It makes you a skeptic. And guess what? You have lots of good reasons to be skeptical about the federal government and the quote unquote scientists pushing their own public grants to make more money. Anyways, watch this one more clip from the president. This was kind of interesting. He talks about, Joe Biden is known for, and we've talked about it several times on this show, just making stuff up. But the problem is once he gets caught making something up, he continues to stick with the story of what he just made up, which is a weird trait. You'd think that if you get caught lying about something, you would stop that particular lie. Yet Joe Biden does not do that. Check it out when he's talking about the fire in his home in Delaware, I don't know, a decade or two ago. Check it out.
I know from experience how much anxiety and fear and concern there are in the people. We didn't lose our whole home, but lightning struck and we lost an awful lot of it about 15 years ago.
So he's talking about when his home in Delaware caught on fire. I believe it was from lightning, possibly. I don't really know anything about that, but I don't know what caused it specifically, but the AP, so he just said there, I know what it's like to lose personal property. We had a big scare at my house in Delaware. We lost a lot of our home when lightning struck. The Associated Press, again, not a conservative leading news outlet, has reported and has maintained their reporting that it was a small fire contained to the kitchen and was under control in 20 minutes. So weird. This is kind of like similar with his Amtrak story. Angelo Negri, the conductor on the Amtrak train that I rode every single day from Washington, D.C. to Delaware, said, "How's your mother doing?" The problem is that Angelo Negri, the conductor, according to records, retired 10 years before Joe Biden said that story happened. Same kind of thing here. All right, so here we go. This is an interesting comment. What a selfish response, says Leon. Yeah, it seems like he's trying to make it about himself, but what politician doesn't do that sort of thing? Let me see. Nance says, love my governor. I would imagine she lives in Florida. And Larry says something that I've been saying. They've been having hurricanes forever. It's not a specific cause of quote unquote global warming. Oh, wait, no, sorry. The appropriate term is climate change now, because global warming was a thing until it started getting cold, and now it's both. Okay. Watch this clip. This is the one that's been making the rounds. I'm sure you saw it on really everywhere last night. Joe Biden on a hot mic, and I think the mic is on the other dude. I would be cautious of saying really anything, anywhere, at any point, especially if you're the president of the United States, when somebody could have a microphone on that you don't know about. He shook hands with this guy and then said some some inexplicable words that we would never use on this show. However, I, as the media, don't want to censor the President of the United States, so I left it unbleeped. So if you don't want to hear F-bombs being dropped by the president, don't listen. But anyways, here it is, the clip everybody's been talking about. Check it out.
Thanks for everything. Thanks for coming down. We appreciate it. I picked the thing.
No one fucks with Biden.
Yeah, goddamn right.
And I can't argue with your brothers outside the house.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Did you hear that?
Thank you.
I don't really know what he was talking about. I'm not sure what he was talking about there, but he said, nobody F's with a Biden. I don't know what that means, but it sounds like somebody who would say that sort of thing would be in very, very stark defense of any family member bearing the name Biden. Wonder if he's ever done that sort of thing before. Outwardly stuck his neck out defending somebody who's indefensible as a part of his own family. I guess we'll never know. But that was Joe Biden. Let's play that one more time and continue on to Fauci, guys. If you've missed Fauci, he's back in the news, or at least back on a late night talk show. Check it out.
No one fucks with Biden.
Yeah, goddamn right.
And I can't argue with your brothers outside the house.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
That was weird. I'm not sure why he said you can't argue then with brothers outside of the house, but okay, cool. All right, so the Faucinator is back on Colbert, or was back on Colbert, and I know a lot of you probably like. I'm gonna sit here and watch the numbers of viewers go down because we're talking about Fauci, but Fauci said something that, dude, like if you don't agree with quote unquote the science, that's fine. If you're like, hey, I think I should take all the COVID shots, I think I should get a booster, I don't think I should take it at all. Whatever your thought process is, I don't actually care. Do whatever you feel is right. But at the same time, let's not go ahead and just say things that are absolute without necessarily knowing that they're absolute. Or just say things that are wrong. Like, I don't know if Dr. Fauci knows this, but a lot of us, especially you watching right now, have the internet. And a quick Google or DuckDuckGo or Bing search. I'm not trying to use the word Google as a verb because Google probably is an evil company that's stealing all of your data. So I try to throw in some other searches that work. But to search it on the internet is not impossible, Dr. Fauci. So when you say things that, again, are very, very easily searchable on what we call the World Wide Web, it doesn't necessarily turn out for you great in the end. Watch this clip from Dr. Fauci on Colbert asking about certain things that helped or maybe didn't help during the COVID-19 pandemic to not cure people, but provide therapeutic remedies. Check it out. Dr. Fauci.
Did ivermectin do anything?
No.
Okay. Humans do take it, but not for this purpose.
Right. It does not help with COVID, and it could be dangerous.
Okay. Hydroxychloroquine, did it do anything?
No.
No. So people who hoarded that?
No.
No reason to have done that. Okay.
Right.
Just checking.
So there's a lot of reporting out there. I'm not going to get into whether or not Dr. Fauci is right or wrong on those specific things because I'm not a doctor. I don't actually know, but I do know there's a lot of combating contrary opinions out there in the medical field. I've talked to several doctors myself, and they're like, yeah, no, that's wrong. But the thing that he said that made me irritated was when he said ivermectin could be dangerous. Look, when COVID was first starting, right, and this is not a pitch for ivermectin. Again, like I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to give you medical advice. I'm just telling you what is. The reason that a lot of doctors tried ivermectin, whether or not it worked, the reason they tried it initially was like, hey, this is an antiviral medication that humans have been taking. It's not just exclusively a horse dewormer. But doctors like, humans have been taking this probably more than any other drug on the planet. I think there's been like 4 billion doses issued around the world since it was officially invented or discovered in Japan, whatever that is. But the reason that doctors tried it out is like, this is an incredibly safe drug for humans to take. They've been taking it forever. And maybe this helps, maybe it doesn't. But it doesn't matter because it won't hurt anybody. So let's just try it out and see what happens. Then Dr. Fauci, 2.5 years later, dude, is on Stephen Colbert saying, well, it could be dangerous. Really? Really? We're going to go ahead on the dangerous side here. Yeah. All right. Okay, dude. The problem I think that Dr. Fauci doesn't understand too is I don't think he's quite aware the damage he's doing to the respect for and confidence in all of the higher government-run medical / health departments / agencies. Every time he goes out there and says something that far off base, doesn't help your cause, dude. I am pro-science. I think if something is definitive, we should all gather around that and make sure that we don't let that slip. But if you go out on a limb and say things that just are blatantly inaccurate, it doesn't help your cause when you're quote-unquote advocating for science. Let me see if I can get to some comments here. There's some that I would like to... Oh, this was kind of interesting. I don't want to ignore the first part of this because, you know, I'm not saying I share this opinion. I'm just bringing it up because this is what it's in our comment section. Sue says, jabs don't work either. Fauci is a crook and made millions. I want to focus on this last part. Forbes came out late last week. Was it Forbes? Not entirely sure who it was. Dr. Fauci, guess what? Made $5 million. Sorry, his net worth increased $5 million. Now, how many of you during the COVID pandemic, your net worth went down? Did that happen for you and the overwhelming majority of Americans? Yes, it did. However, Dr. Fauci and his wife increased their net worth by $5 million. There's a lot of comments here talking about, wow, there's some aggressive comments here. I'm not going to bring that one up. But this one is kind of interesting. Dana says, aspirin could be dangerous. Yeah, if you're going to go with that line, Dr. Fauci could be dangerous. For the arguably safest drug in human history, antiviral drug, ivermectin, I guess, yeah, everything could be dangerous. If you drink too much water, it could be dangerous. Dude, all right. Let's move on. Wow, a lot of hate for Dr. Fauci. Leon says this, Dr. Fauci's done more damage than COVID did. Yeah, Dr. Fauci and the government. Remember, the biggest problem that we had during COVID and the aftermath of COVID was the government response to COVID, not the virus itself. Keep that in mind. Let's get to this. I think this is interesting. Murders are up according to statistics, but not all the statistics. This is kind of interesting as FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, released national crime statistics for 2021. This is from the Post Millennial. Our friends over at the Post Millennial had this article, and I thought it was fascinating. The FBI released their national crime statistics report for 2021. However, that report leaves out key data from these cities: Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, and other high crime locales. That report revealed that the murder rate had increased compared to the previous year. So from 2020 to 2021, the murder rate has increased. However, there's some data that isn't included from Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, and other high crime locales. According to a press release, the estimated numbers of murders nationwide increased from 22,000 in 2020. Holy crap, 22,000 people get murdered a year in the United States? That seems high. Anyways, to 22,900 in 2021, a 4.3% jump. Yikes, almost 5% jump in murders. The FBI explained that while murder and rape went up in 2021, robbery was down by 8.9%. Oh, that's good. You know, because if I were having to pick between getting robbed and murdered, I'm going to go with the robbed one. No, I don't want either one to happen. Yeah, one of them is clearly more detrimental to my being alive than the other. Which they say balances things out. It's important to note that these estimated trends are not considered statistically significant by the NIBRS estimation methods, the FBI wrote, adding that the non-significant nature of the observed trends is why, despite these described changes, the overall message is that crime remained consistent. It's exactly what I would say if I was in charge of policing crime. According to the Brennan Center of Justice, however, the FBI's latest report should be viewed with caution for a number of reasons. Firstly, they explained law enforcement agencies across the country have had to transition to the new national incident-based reporting system, which not all have done. This has left out sizable gaps in the reporting, including the lack of information from places known to have a higher average rate of crime. Among these areas that have not switched over to the system and thus are not included in the 2021 report are the cities that we mentioned earlier, New York City, Los Angeles, San Francisco, which has stated they don't plan on using the new system or making the shift until 2025. So there's a new reporting system. A bunch of cities haven't switched over to that reporting system, and therefore they're not included in the crime statistics. Murder went up by 4%. If you don't, and I don't actually know specifically if they didn't just get their own data or they're solely relying on this reporting system, but let's assume that it's not entirely reported from these big cities. If you don't have the entire reporting from New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, a bunch of other high crime areas, and murder still went up, that would lead me to believe that murder went up more than they said that murder went up. I don't want to get murdered, and neither do you. So that is a problem that we're going to have to deal with at some point. The FBI data, so this is actually kind of interesting. The Axios had an interesting headline that I thought was interesting after reading this post-millennial piece. Axios' headline was FBI data shows U.S. violent crime fell slightly in 2021, but experts say the stats are unreliable. So what Axios is doing, and I like Axios, I think they're generally fairly fair, is saying that, well, because robbery was down, even though murder went up, violent crime fell. Axios goes on to say in their article, the estimated number of violent crimes in the U.S. decreased slightly in 2021, new FBI statistics show, but nearly 40% of law enforcement agencies nationwide failed to report their 2021 crime data to the FBI, according to data provided to Axios local with a partnership, yada, yada, yada. 40% of law enforcement agencies nationwide failed to report their 2021 crime statistics. That seems like a problem. I brought this quote up yesterday, but Rapid Dog, who is watching on YouTube, says, there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. So there's that. I don't know which side of the aisle this guy tends to fall on, who's quoting that, but I think it's pretty interesting. Arthur says they're all in Chicago. A lot of murders being committed in Chicago. Not great to live there. Let's see. Anything else that we can get to? Jason says there's probably 2 COVID deaths among those. Yep, that's it. Just 2. Hilarious. And then Mike says, does anyone believe or trust the FBI anymore? Dude, yeah, man. See, that's the problem, right? Like, I think that we should have institutions that we trust in the United States of America. I think our federal institutions should be trusted. Here's the problem. They haven't given me any reason to be able to trust them. I think that's bad for the country. I don't want to live in a country where we can't trust the FBI or the CDC or the FDA or the NIH or any of the other big government bureaucratic agencies. But at the same time, they have to give us a reason to trust them, that which they have not done yet. So that is a big problem. Thanks for your comment, Mike. Let's move on to this. This is OPEC's oil reduction. Now, I wanted to reset this a little bit. Back in June, I think, we talked about this a lot. Handshake gate. It's a gate. It was a gate. Joe Biden had a kerfluffle. So just to reset it really quickly, because it was kind of hilarious. The administration didn't want Joe Biden, a Democrat who is not a proponent of the human rights record in Saudi Arabia, which I'm not either, but at the same time, I'm a realist and understand that we have to do global business with these people, regardless of whether or not we agree with how they treat their own citizens and women specifically. But Democrats, big time into that. So they didn't want Joe Biden shaking hands with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, who, again, remember, probably 99% sure that he ordered the killing of American journalist Jamal Khashoggi in the Saudi embassy in Turkey. Bottom line here is Joe Biden administration did not want the president shaking hands with MBS. So they said, because of COVID, we're going to fist bump instead. That's how we're going to greet you. And everyone was like, that's a ridiculous thing. But I guess, yeah, if he's super old, I guess maybe that is a genuine concern. The problem is Joe Biden then, if you recall, as a part of his trip to the Middle East, got off the plane in Israel and shook hands with dang near the entire country. Just before he was supposed to fly to Riyadh and not shake hands because of COVID. If you remember that, great. If not, that's fine too. I probably spend too much time resetting these things, but I think they're funny and I like to do them. But before we talk about OPEC's oil reduction problem for the United States and the rest of the world, let's replay and relive the Biden MBS fist bump. This is just a clip of just Biden getting out of the car. There's the fist bump. And then he was asked about it on the tarmac several days later. Here's that clip from reporters. Just kind of setting up how they're
Mr. President, why don't you guys talk about something that matters? I'm happy to ask a question that matters.
Joe Biden says, aren't you talking about something that matters? Well, apparently this matters, and it matters a lot right now, especially when gas prices are shooting up yet again. The White House angrily pushed back at OPEC after the oil producers group announced its largest supply cut since 2020, lashing out on what Joe Biden's administration described as a short-sighted decision. So if you notice, the price of oil has gone down a little bit, which is good. I'm glad for that. It doesn't matter if I disagree with the president on a lot of policy stuff. If for some reason they are doing things that's helping gas go down, great, whether that be opening up trade, tariffs, all of that sort of stuff, and decreasing the price of gas, I'm for that, even if I disagree on a lot of the ways, the policies of the president of the United States. However, they are shooting back up. I was talking about this yesterday. I was in Mammoth over the weekend. It was like $7.50 there, and it's generally higher in your mountain towns in California, but $7.50 is outrageous. It's like $6.56 or something right down the street from my house in Southern California, which I know is mind-boggling if you've been living in Texas for the last several years when it's been like $1.28 up until recently. But prices are going way, way up. Energy analysts believe that the deep production cost of OPEC could backfire, possibly, particularly as Biden hinted that Congress would soon seek to rein in the Middle East-dominated power groups of influence over energy prices. I don't know how they would plan to do that other than rebuilding pipelines that were stalled, or allowing U.S. producers to drill more for oil here and making that easier for them to do. So that's maybe how they can do it. The OPEC and non-OPEC allies are yada, yada, yada. Trying to figure out what's important here. The move by OPEC is designed to spur a recovery in oil prices, which had fallen to roughly $80 a barrel from more than $120 a barrel 3 months ago. So the price of oil has fallen. Again, good thing. But they're trying to rebound that, and therefore they're going to cut the supply and drill 2 million barrels less per day, which would stoke the futures. There was a tweet. This irritated me so much. Gavin Newsom tweeted yesterday. What's today? This morning. Here's the facts. Crude oil prices are down, and yet gas prices are up because greedy oil companies are ripping you off. I believe that oil companies are greedy, but they're allowed to be. But at the same time, oil prices, even though they have been falling, are going up fast because of this huge constriction of oil supply from OPEC. There's some deals on the table with Venezuela, who's a country that we don't necessarily want to be working with. But the bottom line here is this is just a blatant, flat-out lie from Gavin Newsom saying, it's the only reason gas prices are going up are because of greedy oil companies. It's not because Joe Biden completely eliminated most of the onshore drilling here in the United States. Not anything to do with that. It's just greed. Where was I? There's another clip, but I honestly completely forgot what it is. But let me just play this clip, and then we can kind of move on. There's an interesting quote from Bernie Sanders here. So let me play this clip, and I'll get you that Bernie Sanders quote. This clip. Forgot about this. Yeah, this is a couple days ago. The Iranian parliament gathering in the middle of their building to chant "Death to America." Now, this is not in reaction to anything I think we've done. I think it's more in a reaction to the protests going on there for women's rights, which I agree with. And I think their chanting "Death to America" is more a chant of the idea of America or freedom and freedom values, which they are trying to crush in Iran. I think that's probably what's going on here. But the reason I put this on the back of this is because guess what? The Iranian government is a part of OPEC. So there's that. This is just interesting. I also don't speak Iranian, whatever language they speak in Iran. I don't know if it's Farsi. I don't know. But that's them chanting "Death to America." So there is that. Lastly, Bernie Sanders tweeted, interestingly enough, Bernie Sanders, Mr. Green Energy guy, said OPEC's decision to cut back on production is a blatant attempt to increase gas prices at the pump that cannot stand. Yes, that's true. He's not wrong. OPEC is trying to increase the dollar figure that they get per barrel, but that's the way the world works if you don't defend yourself, United States of America. He also says this, which is freaking fascinating. We must end OPEC's illegal price-fixing cartel, eliminate military assistance to Saudi Arabia, and move aggressively to renewable energy. I'm fine with two of those things. Eliminating, I'm not a big fan of military intervention around the world anyway. So, yeah, if that's the sanction we have to use to get Saudi Arabia on the right track, fine. I'm fine with moving aggressively towards renewable energy as long as it's done from private enterprise and not the government of the United States. I would imagine me and Bernie would disagree on how we aggressively move to renewable energy, but at the same time, I'm a big-time pro-nuclear, and I wish the government would loosen the reins a little bit to see if we can make sure that we have some more cleaner energy going on via nuclear power plants. But without going into that diatribe, here's what I thought was hilarious in that tweet. We must end OPEC's illegal price-fixing cartel. How? How you gonna do that, Bernie? You gonna hold a trial for different countries in the United States? Who's gonna enforce that law? Do you want the military to go attack OPEC? Because that's the only way that you're going to stop illegal activity from other countries in which you have no jurisdiction. Seems like a ridiculous thing for a senator to say. Having said that, Bernie Sanders is a ridiculous character. So there's that. Whew, boy, that'll do it for us today. We had some camera difficulties this morning, which, of course we would. It's the deep state trying to silence us, but they won't prevail. If you haven't already, give us a follow on any of your social media accounts at JOBOB on Twitter, Getter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Truth Social, all of those, Ibble. You'll be able to find me. Just type in Jobob. Every time I give this, I pull up my phone and I look at it, and there's nothing I'm looking at. I just am looking at all of these social media apps and saying, hey, go do that now, I guess. But yeah, give me a follow on any of those social media accounts. Anything happens tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow we're gonna do a lot of fun stuff tomorrow. There was a really interesting, it wasn't really even an article, it was just a list that Golf Digest put out about presidents and their handicaps. Presidents ranked by their golf handicap. I have some thoughts. Most people looked at that and went, oh, this is cute. Now, I have some serious political ramifications of that golfer presidential list. So stay tuned for that tomorrow, and also some lighter fare on a Friday. That'll do it for us today. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Until then, well, I don't want to say until then, God bless America, because always that. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow. God bless America.